Hey guys, I'm Madison and welcome to my channel. A huge shout out to my friend Maddie F. Baby for encouraging me to do this. And yeah, we'll give it a try. But you guys are here to see all the information about Rainbow Cup. What do you need? What's good? How do I deal with all this mess that's out there? If you don't know what Rainbow Cup is, why are you here? But second of all, you can check out silph.gg to see all the information and rules concerning the cup and what you need to know. There are 5 types, and at first the meta seems really, really wide open. You're thinking to yourself, what do I do about all these Pokemon? Literally anything could be coming at me, and I have no idea how to prepare or what to do. So it seems really wide open at first, right? Wrong. You only need 2 Pokemon. I hate to break it to you and destroy your dreams, but you really only need 2 Pokemon to do well in this meta. So I have made a helpful infographic, which I will now put up on the screen. And let's take a look at what these 2 Pokemon actually are. Now, before you click away, because you just saw the infographic, there's a bit of explaining that I need to do. So let's just get into it. Okay, so first Pokemon that you need to dominate this meta, and I mean just like destroy it, Mantine. So one of the types that's going to be really, really good in this cup, I think, and a lot of people are going to be using is grass. Grass has a lot of resistances, and so I think it's a natural choice for a lot of people to gravitate to. So we need to focus on how to counter the grass mons first. And so you're looking at this graphic and you see things like Venusaur, Ivysaur, Victreebel, Meganium, and you think, how do I counter these things? And the first thing that pops in your mind is, well, I'll use Charizard, and I'll go with a fire type, right? No go. Charizard has way too many weaknesses, and it's kind of squishy, and honestly, you can find yourselves trapped up in some really bad matchups if you use something like a fire type. So the best alternative is to go with flying moves, which are on Mantine. And it's a little bit counterintuitive because Mantine does have that water typing, but the flying type is going to help give it resistances that it needs to absolutely destroy and dominate all the grass Pokemon that you see here. Now, this graphic was kind of made up with kind of like the top 25, top 30 picks from PvPoke, which are probably going to be the most used, more dominant meta type mons that you're going to see in the cup. So that's kind of where I got all that. Mantine will be able to cut through all these grass types, either with its Ice Beam or with Aerial Ace, and I actually like Wing Attack for its fast move. We'll get into why a little bit more, because for this purpose, Bubble technically still works, but I prefer Wing Attack just because you're able to hit for neutral damage on some other things, but we'll get into that. So Mantine will be able to absolutely destroy all these grass type mons. And that's actually not the only benefit that you get with Mantine, because it has these flying type moves, all the bugs that you also see below, totally annihilated by Mantine, including Fortress, which is probably going to be, on a lot of people's teams, it looks like an up-and-coming threat to the meta. I think PvPoke has it ranked at number 2. So these bug types are going to create absolutely no problems for Mantine either. It can take them all down. So not only is Mantine countering the grass, which is what we were setting out to do in the first place, but it's also going to be able to counter the grass type counters that other people would typically be picking, I suppose. So it also does really well against the fire types. For the fire type matchups, Bubble does a little bit better, but I still prefer Wing Attack for the fast move. Just because it's still going to allow you to take out Charizard. It's still going to allow you to take out Ninetales. The only fire type that you're really going to have problems with is Magcargo. So for easy, like, memory's sake, you can say Mantine's going to counter all your grass, bugs, and all the fire types that aren't Magcargo. And you're pretty well set and good to go with Mantine. Mantine has some interesting matchups against the rest of the water meta. Obviously, you want to watch out for Lantern, because Lantern, along with anything electric, is just going to ruin Mantine's day. It has a huge, huge double weakness to anything electric, and we're going to get into how to fix that in just a second. But against the other water types, like if you run into a Blastoise, it either ties or barely loses in all the even shield situations with Blastoise. I think it does poorly against Kingdra, but not as poor as you would think. Not so poor that if you both started like a Kingdra versus a Mantine that would make you want to switch immediately. So it's not the end of the world. It does struggle against Azumarill, if I remember correctly. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but so you have some neutral to slightly losing matchups against the waters, and then you're just going to get wrecked by anything electric. But everything else, Mantine's good to go. So then we obviously want to offset those weaknesses when we're building a team because we have 3 slots to pick. So we want to work on countering that electric weakness, and there's no better pick to counter the electric weakness, in my opinion, than our boy Quagsire. So Quagsire has a resistance to electric, and it will own anything that's using electric moves. So Raikou, Magneton, Electabuzz, Lantern, anything that you might run into with electric moves, Raichu. And so it provides a nice hard counter to what Mantine is super weak for. So they really offset each other nice. But there's some other benefits with Quagsire as well. So by picking Quagsire, we get to double up our effectiveness on the fire types. So Quagsire's still going to ruin Charizard's day with that Stone Edge, still going to ruin Ninetales, and it actually beats Magcargo. It's a pretty hard counter to Magcargo, to be honest with you, which is nice because that's the only fire type that Mantine struggles with. So together they kind of like, fill in all the fire gaps. So fire, we get to double up on our coverage there. And it also, surprisingly, has really good matchups against most of the bug-type Pokemon that aren't Forretress. It struggles with Forretress, but most of the bug-type Pokemon have flying typing to go along with them, like Beedrill, Scyther. It's going to do really well against a lot of the bugs as well. So by offsetting our electric weakness with Quagsire, we're going to allow us to double up on our fire coverage and our bug coverage. So... sorry, almost forgot. It also counters some of the water Pokemon that Mantine kind of struggles with in those neutral matchups. It does a much better job against Kingdra, and it absolutely walls Lantern. So between these 2 Pokemon, Mantine and Quagsire, you can cover basically the entire meta with a slight struggle still against the Watermons. Although some of them you will have favorable matchups against. But most of them are just going to be neutral / barely losing type matchups. But still, you only need 2 Pokemon to cover the entire meta when you think about it. That's crazy for something that seems so wide open. But if you want to take it a step further, which I haven't put on the infographic, so only people who watch the end of the video get to know this part, we get 3 Pokemon slots. So what third Pokemon could we possibly want to put in here that is going to help us? I can't think of any better prospects than Venusaur. And the reason being is because Venusaur with Vine Whip Frenzy Plant is going to absolutely ruin anything's day that has water typing. You'll run right through them all, and absolutely 0 problems. So that allows you to fill in that gap that you might encounter depending on who the water type mons... Sorry, my dog is like wanting a belly rub. That you might run into using Mantine and Quagsire. Blastoise, Kingdra, all these things. It just eats their sack lunch with Venusaur. But the other cool thing that Venusaur allows us to do is that you'll remember, half the team is weak to electric, like hardcore weak to the electric. So Venusaur does really well against all the electric guys. So by using Venusaur, not only do we fill in our water coverage, but we also double up on the electric coverage as well. So if your Mantine happens to run into a bad situation, you always have a good switch, even if you've already lost them on, to switch into to help you take care of the electric threats. So it's nice to have that double coverage to help fill in Mantine's gaps. But wait, there's more. So Venusaur also happens to do really well against its own typing, the grass types, because of Sludge Bomb. So it's going to wreck Meganium. It does well against Victory Bell. It's going to, I think, beat Ivysaur, and then you'll have it for the mirror match if you run into opposing Venusaurs. So you're also going to be able to double up on your grass coverage, which is what Quagsire is double weak to. So if your Quagsire happens to run into a bad situation, even if you've already lost them on, you're always going to have a good switch in with either, Mantine or Venusaur. So Venusaur really kind of helps fill in the gap. So with this team of 3, you have devastating water coverage, but then you have double coverage on every other type in the meta. Mantine and Quagsire can take care of the fire types. Mantine and Quagsire can take care of the bug types. Venusaur and Mantine, the grass types. And then Venusaur and Quagsire can take care of the electric types. So it's a very well-rounded team. You're always going to be covered no matter what kind of situation you run into. And as best I can see, there aren't any gaps in the coverage based on what is meta at this current point in time for Rainbow Cup. Obviously, all this is subject to change. And as the meta develops and unfolds, maybe some of the mons that I wasn't looking at that say are ranked much, much lower on PvPoke, like 40 or 50, will rise to the top, and this whole team and strategy will just, right out the window. So if that happens, make sure you push the subscribe button below and click that bell notification to make sure you're receiving all the latest updates and news and information and battle strategies for Rainbow Cup and all the future Silph Arena Cups to come. But let me know what you guys think. Does this team of 3 look good to you? Try and poke some holes in it. See if I'm missing something. I would love to know. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be testing it out over the next few days and kind of see how it goes. And I'll report back. And hopefully you'll do the same for me as well. So until next time, you guys, that's all I have. Make sure you check out Maddie F. Baby's channel. I will link to it in the description below because he inspired me to start this crazy mess for some reason, so we'll see how it goes. So yeah, see you guys later, and until then, tap harder.